We now return to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project, the radio show discussing honest truth about Illinois policy and politics. Here's AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Pat Hughes on this edition of Rising. And Pat, Tiny Dancer's CPS toady Forrest, run, Forrest, run away. He forced out this week amid his dogged efforts to cover up an ethical problem within the Chicago public school system. Boy, that's a real revelation. But this one in particular, a bit noxious scam where you've got your general counsel overseeing his former law firm as a contractual attorney for the school district while he's also still getting paid out by said law firm. You're an attorney. I know, ethics is not exactly associated with the legal profession except as a punchline, but that's a pretty bright line, isn't it?
Yeah, there are bright lines in the legal profession. I mean, you are held to certain ethical standards, and this obviously violated that. Although I have to say I'm impressed with Forrest Claypool because he became ostensibly a successful person with the name Forrest. Like if you had sort of said, what's a guy named Forrest going to end up being, it wouldn't have been very much. So for him to be, CPS school person.
Forrest Gregg's a Hall of Famer.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker's an Academy Award-winning actor.
No, he's not.
Didn't he won an Academy Award for Last King of Scotland, didn't he?
He did. You're right. He did.
Yeah.
But he was also very good in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I am a noted expert on
that's right.
Men named Forrest, so you're probably going to want to back off there. He's now been replaced by Janice Jackson. What have you done for me lately?
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
She's a part of the Rhythm Nation. All right, for more on Claypool's departure, we're pleased to be joined by Faisal Khan, former Legislative Inspector General for the City Council. Talk about a punchline, the City Council. And now he is the CEO of Project 6, independent investigative organization that's trying to hold Tiny Dancer and other appointees like his toady Forrest and members of the City Council accountable to sort of at least make an effort to abide the law. Faisal, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Morning. Hey, everybody makes mistakes. Forrest Claypool is a dedicated public servant because he's worked for other people who describe themselves as dedicated public servants like Richie Daley and Tiny Dancer, and he's been kind of moved around all over the place, and he pretended to be a reformer during his time on the county board, taking on John Stroger. So he's a good guy who should hold his head high, as Tiny Dancer said. He made a big mistake, no big deal, nothing to see here.
No.
Why not?
Just no. I'm just... This one particularly got me cranked, Dan, Pat. Forrest Claypool, do you know how many people have lost their jobs for lying to the Inspector General previously? In dozens over the years, lying either to the city IG or to CPS. Do you know how many jobs Forrest Claypool called for teachers to lose because they've lied or done something inappropriate? Dozens. So here we are, the CEO of Chicago Public Schools actively not only lied to the Inspector General, but took actions to cover up his misdeeds by altering bills to hide what he did. And to claim that no tax dollars went to this, nonsense. Those opinions cost money when he went to find shopping for a legal opinion that suited his position, 7 of them. That did cost us money. And so there were only 2 choices for Forrest Claypool, and that was either resign or be terminated because his credibility ended that day. This story isn't really about Forrest Claypool at this point. This is about the mayor. And this mayor who has campaigned for years and years about changing a culture of corruption here in Chicago. But if you look at this mayor's track record since he's been in office, whether it's fighting lawsuits for transparency, whether it's using private email to cover up what he's doing, whether it's engaging in shady deals like and not letting taxpayers know about it like the Lucas Museum, or whether many of his high-level officials leaving city government either under an indictment or under a cloud like Barbara Byrd Bennett or Amr Ahmed, this is a mayor who is clearly acting against taxpayer interests at this point, and we need to have a hard conversation about that.
So, Faisal, 2 things, both related. One regarding CPS, one regarding the mayor. So, I went to Chicago Public School in the 70s, and the same shenanigans that went on then are still going on to this day because it's a systemic problem. And during the process, nobody is getting educated. So you have this, this larger systematic problem that whether it's Forrest Claypool or whoever the next person is, this Jackson lady, they're not going to be able to change or adjust that until the Chicago Teacher Union is broken, or until the mayor's changed and there's a new mayor who's willing to change the structure of that union and break that union. So the question is, what the people in the system, the kids in the system, the parents who vote and participate in this, why is no one reacting the way they should react, given the scandals that have gone over 40 years, given that Bennett is now I think she's in prison, Claypool's gone because of an ethics violation. The mayor's trying to cover it up. He's touting great graduation rates when nobody passes the park test, even though these kids are graduating. Where is the upheaval, and when is there going to be some sort of revolution against this guy as people's lives continue to persist in the wrong direction?
There's two answers to that, Pat. It's the glass half empty approach and the glass half full approach. The glass half empty approach is, where is this damn revolution? When is the apathy finally going to end? When are people going to open their eyes and realize that they're being stepped on and kept down, and this has been going on for decades? The glass half full approach is you and I having this conversation and other people having this conversation when we see people fighting back. Look, Rom was not able to get away with this. Eventually, this story got out. Nick Schuler's IG report got to the public. We found out about what Claypool did, and the temperature reached 100 where there was no choice but for him to resign immediately, whether Rom tried to protect him or not. This is the kind of stuff we need where this consistent reporting is out there, so public pressure raises the discussion level to a point where there is no choice but to go. So it really depends on which glass you want to look at, full or empty.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. And, there's only so much you can do. You have to give people information and provide explanations and try and foment transparency, and then people are going to have to make up their own minds in terms of what kind of city they want to live in. There's no question about that. But I wonder, with respect to CPS in particular, do you see the possibility that that this will engender a new era of transparency, that maybe you will push forward the idea of an elected local school council, which has been one reform idea that's been proposed. I don't know that that's a panacea, but it's a start in terms of diffusing power. Do you think that some of those reforms can get some traction now?
Well, let me answer the first part of your question, Dan, whether or not this is going to change the system. And my optimistic side says, I don't know. That's the best answer I can give you on that. But the realistic side says, no, it's in fact going to act in the opposite way, because this time they got caught, and next time they'll take more steps to make sure they don't get caught. Now, whether or not, I'm not going to pretend and tell you that I can tell you how to fix CPS, but there has to be real discussion with either new leadership and new people in charge as to whether an elected school board will work, or some of these other ideas. It's just someone has to keep the pressure on, and whether it's a Nick Schuler or anyone else out there, CPS deserves better. Pat deserves better. Pat has been in the public school system.
Well, it's one of those things too that I think sometimes we get focused on the personalities and the personnel, and that's part of it. Of course, a better class of people in public office is always a good thing, but it's also the idea of diffusing centralized power. We go through these pantomimes of pretending the mayor's not in control of the schools and so on and so forth, which is
absolutely
right. So diffusing power away from the hands of a few, and getting people that do have some power, some authority per their elective office to use it.
You're absolutely right. No, I completely agree with you. And I think it goes back to Pat's point of where are the parents? Where are the parents that can fight and go to their alderman office and say, look, this is not acceptable anymore, and force their alderman to have a conversation at city council as within that body to say we just cannot go along with this anymore. This system has failed. The system continues to fail, and Forrest Claypool is the latest example of that. The one prior to that is Barbara Byrd Bennett, and the ones prior to that, and the ones prior to that, and the ones prior to that. There's clearly a need for radical change. What that change is, I'll let the experts decide. But this system is not working, and what this system is still doing is breeding corruption, like the Claypools, like the Byrd Bennetts. And if this doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will.
He is Project 6 CEO, Faisal Khan's thesecret6.com is the website. Faisal, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good talking to you guys.